Thank you for listening to the BjjBrick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back to the BjjBrick Podcast. This is episode 227. This is Joe coming at you. I got Gary and Byron on the line with me. Guys, how you doing today?
We are doing great, Joe. How about you?
I'm doing really good. It's been a busy week. I work shift work. I just got home Friday. So,
how many days do you get off after you come back on land?
14. I do 14 days at work and 14 days at home.
Okay, that's right. I remember talking to you really early when we first met you, when you came on our show. I remember you were saying that.
Yep. So I'm looking at another 2 weeks off, basically.
Yep. Awesome. Time to train.
Time for some jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, more podcasts. This is a great episode. We have Dante Leon on the show. He just recently, about 6 months ago, got his black belt. And he had basically torn up all the color belts and did amazing coming up through the ranks. And now it gets really interesting as he is going after these black belts and having amazing matches and really performing well. And he talks about that, making that transition, how it's, you go from watching these people compete. When he started, some of these people had black belts around their waist, and now he's on the mat with them and competing with them. And that's a really cool experience. And this guy is just somebody that you're going to want to watch for years to come. It's great to introduce him to the audience here. So really cool opportunity. I hope you enjoy learning from Dante Leon and learning a little bit about what he's going through to make himself the best grappler he possibly could be.
Yeah, I'm looking at his BJJ Heroes bio, and it looks like he's a pretty well-rounded guy. He's got 5 submissions recently, and only 2 of them are the same. He's got 2 knee bars, and then the other 3 are an arm bar and a couple of chokes, it looks like. So looks like a really well-rounded guy.
Yep, you don't know where he's going to get you.
He's an equal opportunity submitter.
Hey, recently we got contacted by a company, and we actually decided to pick them up as a sponsor. I think last year we probably got contacted by maybe 6 or so companies, and we looked into a couple of them, or at least I did, and they just didn't really feel like something that I wanted. I think the most recent one was like a big supplement company that you've probably heard on other podcasts, and I don't do supplements myself. And I don't know about Gary and Joe, but it's just like, it's hard to get behind that if you don't do it. It's something that I was doing. I think it would be more easy to talk about, and I'd feel like my heart was behind it. But we actually got something that, not a gi company, not a grip tape, not a soap company. What do we have here, gentlemen, to talk about?
We have a company called Health IQ. They are a life insurance company. They are not a broker. They are actually an insurer. But the really neat thing about this company is they have special rates for people who are in shape, like ourselves and like our listeners. They have special rates for cyclists, for vegans, for triathletes, for marathon runners. It's just a really cool concept where if you keep yourself in shape, you're not going to pay full premiums, you're not going to be in a pool with unhealthy people and pay more. So, I think it would be a benefit to save a little bit of money and check it out for our listeners.
Yeah, it sounds like they basically do a risk assessment, and the lower your score, the lower your rate. So if you can earn a good score by keeping your weight in check, exercising 3 to 5 times a week, eating the right foods, then you'll pay what you deserve to pay. And I think everybody can get behind that.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu is really we found a enjoyable way to be in shape. We're not dragging ourselves to go exercise every day. You go to work out and with a smile on your face, and yes, you get sweaty and you work hard and you get your heart rate up, but it's a fun process. And that's one thing that we're able to maintain for many, many years and keep going. And actually, bring in that lifestyle. And that's really what Health IQ is wanting to do, is to reward you for that. You're not lumped in to the same category as people that come home from work and sit on the couch with a bag of potato chips and watch, reruns of movies or whatever people do. They don't do jiu-jitsu. I don't know what it is. But, it's not fair to be lumped in with those people that don't really take care of themselves, because statistically they leave this earth earlier than people who do take care of themselves and exercise. And that's really what it is about, assessing that risk. That's what Health IQ does, and they reward you for that with, rates that are really meant to save you money, because it's that's what it is. They say, how much do you work out? What do you do? And how could we adjust your health insurance based on that? And it's a cool concept. It makes sense if you think about it, because if you look at the average person walking around or laying down on the couch, you don't need to be lumped in with them when you're buying life insurance, because you're living a healthier lifestyle just by the fact that you're training jiu-jitsu, you're on the mats, you're using those muscles and working out. So it's a cool concept. We'll put a link in the show notes to go check them out, get a free quote, and check them out. I never heard anything quite like this, and it sounds really cool.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Health IQ.
All right, gentlemen, this time we have a off-the-mat lesson provided by yours truly. And Gary and I were kind of confronted with an interesting situation that happened this week. Got an email from a friend of ours who is a detective on the police department here, and they're looking for somebody. Okay, that's not very common. I get that sort of an email. But really, it was a picture of a person with their face pretty much mostly covered, sunglasses and kind of in a shady area anyway. But they had a jiu-jitsu shirt on. It's like, oh, it's a small community here, and Gary and I have been part of it for many, many years. And it just do you guys know who this is? So I sent it to a couple people and tried to get, have a guess and look at it. And so did Gary. He had some theories or whatever. But really, what I learned from this is it really upset the instructor whose name was on this shirt. It's like, dang, somebody is wearing my hoodie and going around and burglarizing places. And it bothered him. It hurt him. It's like, it's almost like he's endorsed this behavior. And to kind of drag this lesson back onto the mat, but really not even have to do that. Just if you have a shirt that says jiu-jitsu or has, your school logo on there or whatever, and you're out making a kind of a fool of yourself. I mean, you might even just be, at the club and acting like an idiot, or, just if you have a bumper sticker on your vehicle and you drive like a maniac, that, it's like they're going to associate that behavior with your school. And I think that's just a simple way to kind of keep an idea, I'm representing somebody when I wear this shirt. I need to represent that school or organization in a positive light. And so when you have that stuff on, you should be a good person anyway, but when you're representing your team or your school, present that with the best face you can.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Hopefully none of our listeners are out there burglarizing anything, but whatever you do, keep in mind that you are representing your school. I suppose an incident like this might make some instructors and school owners rethink their merchandising and branding, because I've visited a couple schools where they hand out T-shirts and bumper stickers like crazy. So I guess you got to be careful this day.
Yeah, I normally only commit crimes when I'm wearing my BjjBrick shirt. So I always make sure I dress properly when I do, just to give Byron a bad name.
No, you just want to make sure. You just want to make sure everybody is threatened and intimidated by you. So you want to make sure they know who you are.
Well, we are the most intimidating show on the podcast interwebs there.
Oh, yeah, Gary. That's what we're known for.
That is definitely what we're known for. And we're also known for the quote of the week. Not very many shows have the quote of the week, but we do. This one here this week is from Yuri Nate. And the quote is, "The highest compliment that you can pay me is to say that I work hard every day, that I never dog it." And, the first thing I thought of when I saw this quote is I was like, man, dog's got a bad name. Because at first, I'm reading it, I never dog it. And I started thinking about my husky, who is now in doggy heaven right now. But I remember my husky would just run all day long. She'd be out in the backyard running, come out, jump on me, run, start wrestling, and want to go for walks. And I was like, man, why do dogs get bad names? My husky was always working. But, I now have another dog, and Teddy does like to lay on the floor, lay on the couch. I mean, that's probably more typical dog behavior. So, Teddy doesn't work as hard as my last dog, Cuse, did. But, that is a great compliment, to say that you work hard each and every day. every, 7 days a week that you're working hard, that you don't dog it. And, a good quality to have, and it's like a quality that, I'm trying to have my kids portray. I'm always telling them that, you need to work hard. You always need to work hard. I tell my son at basketball practice, you need to work harder than everybody. Show the coach that, you're trying, you're going to do everything. My daughter, too, at cheer practice, I tell her the same thing, outwork everybody. And, just a great work ethic. It doesn't just help you on the match. It helps you in life. It helps you in your marriage. It helps you in anything you do. Or you could be like my dog, Teddy, and sleep 20 hours a day.
Yeah, that is a high compliment to pay somebody, is that they work hard every day. And that's, we're always looking for ways to bring up our teammates and to give them, a little positive feedback. If you see somebody working hard, call them out on it. Hey, I like the way you're working today. Maybe they got tapped out a few times. Maybe they didn't have their best role, but were they working hard? And just recognizing that could be a great compliment.
Yeah, this is especially important when you're dealing with kids, and most jiu-jitsus have a kids club these days. When you pay kids compliments like, you're really good at that, you're really flexible, you're really fast, those are things that some people can be just naturally without trying. And kids kind of naturally interpret it that way. And when they do a move really well and you say, oh, you're really good at that, it's not nearly as impactful if you say, I've been watching you work really hard to get that move down over the last few weeks. So something to think about for instructors.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, my son was wrestling, and, my son was an average wrestler, would win one, lose one, win one, lose two. And he did not make states. And after states, normally the only wrestlers who stayed were people going on to, or after regionals, the only wrestlers that kept going were wrestlers going on to states. And it was about a 3 to 4 week time between that. And my son still kept showing up for practice. And I remember one of the coaches took him aside and said, and I don't even think he knew my son's name. There were so many people in the room, and, my son was nothing special. But he said, son, I really appreciate you coming out here and working hard. Everybody else has went home. You have my admiration. You're such a hard worker. And my son brings that up all the time. And I'll never forget the look on his face when that coach said that to him. It meant the world to him.
That's awesome. What was the quote again? One more time, Gary.
The quote, the highest compliment that you can pay me is to say that I work hard every day, that I never Byron it.
Who's that by?
I'm sorry. I never dog it.
Dog it. Classic. By the poet.
By the poet.
Who's that poet?
You guys set me up.
Is he related to Ima? I'm a poopy.
Yuri Nate.
I think he's related to Ima.
You got me with it, too. Urinate. That was. How'd you guys not laugh?
I don't know.
I just found out about the joke.
I just sent Joe a text over Facebook and told him about it.
Well, it's funny. Right after I read it, I was like, they got to be messing with me. And I was like, no, it sounds right. Nobody's laughing. That's a good one.
I tried to. It's hard to find those that aren't like super dirty, but urinate is a good one.
Yeah. I am a sucker.
But actually, Wayne Gretzky said that, so that takes it to another level.
I fall for this every week. Joe's like, yep, the health IQ test is correct. The guys in Kansas aren't the brightest.
Oh, man.
But I'm actually from New York, though, so.
There you go.
That's any better.
Yeah, that's worse.
Oh, man. Well, good times ahead with our interview with Dante Leon. Here we go.
He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
He once drilled so long, BP endorsed him. When he signs up for a tournament, his opponents typically announce their retirement. His choking game is so strong, every party he attends becomes a slumber party.
Some say keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I have choked all my friends, and my enemies are nowhere to be found. Let the sweat times roll, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Dante Leon to the BjjBrick Podcast. Dante, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, man. Thank you.
Glad to have you here. You've definitely have made turned a lot of heads, I guess is a way to say that. But you've come up through the ranks and you've done very well, and really excited to watch you grapple this year. And you had an amazing year last year as well. But Dante, kind of introduce yourself to the audience. Help us get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm a 22-year-old black belt training out of Toledo, Ohio with GFTeam. I've been a black belt for about 6 months now. I received my black belt after I took second place at Brown Belt Worlds. So this year, big goals are to compete and get some big results at all the major tournaments, Cannes Worlds, Abu Dhabi World Pro, and grow from there. My career is jiu-jitsu. My life is jiu-jitsu, between teaching seminars and training full-time as an athlete. So it's just kind of my goal is to just be the best in the world.
That's an awesome goal. How long have you been training?
I've been training for about a little over 10 years now. I started when I was 12. I'm actually from Canada, so started in a small gym near my hometown in Canada, and then the more I competed, I moved on from there. Ended up, since I was so close to the border of the USA, I ended up crossing the border up to 6 times a week actually to train. So now I live full-time in the United States training here with my team in Toledo, Ohio.
Take me back a little bit more. Like, you're 12 years old. When did jiu-jitsu start to click for you? When did it become something that you thought you could be very good at?
Like when I first started it, everybody would kind of tell me that I had potential, things like that. And I guess it kind of came a little easier to me than most, but I never really took it very seriously. I was still playing other sports. I was still like full-time in hockey. I was a young kid too, so there's always other distractions and everything. But after my first tournament, I really fell in love with it. I had great results. I won both divisions I entered. And then after that, I kind of made my decision after I competed that, like, hey, this is really cool. You know what I mean? This is what I want to do. So I'd say after my first 2 competitions is when it all took off for me. And then I committed to it full force.
And what belt were you back then when your first 2 competitions?
My first competitions, I was actually a white belt. Because I would train like pretty consistent, and then I'd take like, a couple months off here and there when hockey was picking up, or train like once a week for a few months, something like that. So I was always kind of behind in the promotions. I was just still a white belt with a couple stripes. I entered, I think, the intermediate divisions as a kid for my weight class in gi and no gi. It was actually the Arnold's. My first tournament was the Arnold's back when Naga used to run it, and the Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio, and that was my first one. So after my first 2 tournaments, I got my yellow belt, and then progressed up the ranks from there until the adult ranks.
And you started competing with adults even when you could have still done tournaments with the kids. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think my first time I competed adult was on my 15th birthday. It was like a day or 2 after my 15th birthday. Like, decided my instructor at the time was like, "Hey man, you should just go and fight adult. It's not a very big tournament. Just see how you do." So I fought in the teens division, and then I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll try it. I'll do it." And I won. Actually, I won both divisions there too. I won the blue belt, my weight class, and then I also won the intermediate adult no-gi too.
What was that like? I mean, like, maybe think of yourself as talking to younger athletes that are 15, 16 years old, and maybe really wanting to take this seriously and considering taking that step to competing with the adults or to continue to do really well in their age division. What was that like? Kind of describe that, or maybe give those kids advice.
Yeah, well, I always tell the younger guys, teens and the young kids, when they ask me about that or that ever comes up, it was a lot different for me back in the day because jiu-jitsu wasn't as popular, and I didn't come from an area such as like California, New York, Florida, where BJJ is really vast, you know what I mean? And there weren't a lot of practitioners really where I was and where I am. So me being a kid, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I was pretty much like the only kid who trained consistently and trained really hard. So once I hit a certain age, I just trained in the adult class. And I think the next youngest kid was probably, 17 or 18, and I'm 13, 14, 15 years old. So it was a lot different for me. To compete against adult was kind of normal because I just trained with adults. Nowadays, you see a lot of these teams, example like Atos, the Mendez brothers, and a bunch of others. They have these huge kids teams, these huge teenage classes, juvenile classes. So I never really had that as a kid. I never really had other kids to train with. I only really had adults. So it was really, really different for me. I guess you could say the transition might have been a little bit easier for me, a little bit more natural. But jiu-jitsu is definitely at a different point now.
It sounds like because of your training partners, the transition to competing with adults made that pretty. Your training partners helped make that smooth.
Yeah, because there was no option for me to really stay in the kids' classes. Once I was outside of that 8 to 12-year-old range, there was no real class for you. So you could either stay back in the kids' class, but when you're 13 and 14 and even 12, when you start to really find your edge in jiu-jitsu, it doesn't really do you any good to stay and train with 8-year-olds and kids who are half your size. So you move up to the adults, and you got to face your fears pretty quick. You know what I mean?
As a kid, in that kind of that transitional age where you're starting to compete with adults, do you remember what your game was like, or what type of techniques you would do?
I'm still have a lot of focus on my guard to this day, but I'm more balanced, I'd say, today. But back then, I had almost all the focus on my guard because it was impossible for me to take anybody down. I didn't have a great wrestling background. I didn't come from a wrestling background, so being 110 or 120 pounds back then wasn't really possible for me to shoot in and take down grown adults. So all my rolls would start by either me getting taken down or me pulling guard. So after being in the guard so long, I just put a lot of focus on my guard and developed that the most. So I'd say back then I was more of a guard player. Now I'm kind of more balanced both on top and the guard as well.
Now, I know you're a full-time jiu-jitsu person. Are you teaching jiu-jitsu or mostly just focused on competing for yourself?
I teach seminars. I teach privates, things like that, the occasional kids class and everything. But I'm pretty much just an athlete, you know what I mean? I have a great group of guys here in Toledo, other world champions training here, other guys close by from GFTeam. So we have a great group of guys here, and we're pretty much all athletes and all focused on the same goals, all living together and training together.
Sounds like a great environment to produce high-level competitors.
Yeah, it's old school. It's like an old school fight camp year round. We all live together and train together. We're all the best of friends, so it's really, really good.
Do you prefer gi, no gi? Are you doing both?
Honestly, it all depends on the time of year that you ask me. I don't know. Once I get done with the no-gi season, I don't want to put the gi back on, or I just can't wait to get the gi back on after I get done, after no-gi worlds and stuff. And then after gi worlds, I'm almost looking forward to jumping into some no-gi tournaments, so it kind of depends on what time of year that you catch me. I love to compete in both. Even if I'm focusing on tournaments in the gi, I'll still jump into no-gi tournaments and vice versa. So I really like both. It just depends on what time of year you catch me, I guess, what my answer will be. Right now, obviously really focused on the gi with Pan Am's, Worlds, World Pro, all those big tournaments coming up.
So with all that around the corner, are you doing any no-gi training now, or does that totally off until no-gi season kicks back up?
It depends. I always throw a little bit of no-gi in there, but the main focus right now is definitely in the gi, especially we're getting close to the Pan Am. Pan Am is the beginning of March this year. We're already in February, so these 4 to 5 weeks leading up to PANS is definitely going to be just strictly training camp in the gi, competition-based drills, position training, everything like that, geared towards gi competition.
Dante, what part of training or like the actual jiu-jitsu training do you feel that you grow the most?
Just real hard training, just locking the doors of your gym or locking the doors of the place you're at, getting a good group of guys together, and then just beating the snot out of each other. That's the way that your jiu-jitsu is going to grow the most, and you're going to grow the most as a competitor. That's coming from a competitor side. Now, if you want to come from a little different side, if you want to talk about the technical aspect, I think position training and specific training is also really important for not only competitors but also somebody who's just looking to improve. You always need to put yourself in bad spots and try and work out of it, try and improve on the gray areas. That's why I think that real hard training with the right training partners, the guys who can push you, is good, because you're always going to get into some place uncomfortable. You're never going to be able to keep the whole training session in your comfort zone. Every day I like to basically, training 6 times a week, off on Sundays, 5 to 6 times a week, actually. I like to train like that every day. That's part of our regimen. We like to just have one session, usually up to 2 hours, where we just train really hard with each other, depending on how we vary the length of the matches, but we go, 8 to 10 rolls each. And it's just a tournament. It's almost like a tournament every day, So that's the best way for us to get ready for a tournament. That's the best way for us to grow our jiu-jitsu. And then we also implement other training methods as well.
I think with that method of training, you push yourself, and you know that you're pushing yourself. And, when you're in these tournaments and you're in, after the first few rounds go by, you get a little more tired, or you get to that range where you're pushing yourself a little bit, and you've been there so many times before. I think that could be a big mental advantage to just know, I did this like 4 times last week. I was this tired, and I can still grapple just fine. Yeah,
for sure. And then, every single day, it just gets worse and worse as the week goes on. Monday's all good. Everybody's gung-ho. Everybody's ready to go. And, balls to the walls a little bit. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you start to see it, trickle down a little bit. And then, we train this week. We trained Monday through till today. Just got done actually about an hour ago with our competition training. And dead, just absolutely dead. Everybody in the room, everybody was dead. There was just nothing left, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what you want at the end of the week. You just want to you don't want to have anything left to give. You want to leave every single day. You leave the gym. If you're training for these big tournaments, you want to give every single thing you have in your body, So when it comes to that tournament, you're used to giving everything. You have nothing left in the tank, You empty the bucket every time you step on the mat.
Dante, training like that, do you find yourself having certain techniques that you prefer to do if you're tired, like a certain kind of a recovery thing that you could do, or do you play the same game as the training session goes on from start to finish?
There's always times where, you're training for competition, obviously, so you're going to do the moves that you're going to do in competition. That's kind of going to be what you focus on when you do this type of training. And when you do get tired, your body does revert back to what's natural and what's habit, So what you feel the most comfortable in when you're completely exhausted and everything's just zapped out of your body, you're going to revert back to, what your body's used to, what your body has trained for so many years. So there definitely are some techniques that everybody else and myself do go towards, but with the guys here, with the whole GFTeam motto, never stopping, you don't have much time to stall or do anything. There's always going to be somebody yelling at you to go. There's always going to be somebody trying to, tear your head off. So every once in a while when you're dead tired and you're trying to put the brakes on the match, you're just forced to keep going and keep moving and keep pushing. And and stay uncomfortable.
Tell me a little bit about your off-the-mat training.
Lift weights 4 times a week. I don't know if you're familiar with the conjugate method or anybody out there. West Side Barbell, Louis Simmons. That's kind of the method we follow. We throw in some other things there, but we're big believers on the conjugate method. All of us and my trainer as well. So it's basically you work out your lower body and your upper body twice a week each. One time is lifting heavy. The other time is lifting lighter weights really fast. So you work your diesel strength and you work your speed too, which is great for jiu-jitsu.
So it improves your strength, but it's also improving your speed and explosiveness in the same program there. Yep.
It improves everything. Yeah, cardio too. We always throw in some cardio while we're doing weights, and then we do it right in the morning too. One, to get it out of the way when your body's just waking up fresh. We get a good breakfast in, and then we go hit the weights really hard. But right after this, we get our food in, we take our supplements and everything, and then we step on the mat. We either have a drilling session or we have our competition training or position training. We change it from day to day now in the camp. But it zaps you, man. Your muscles are tired. Your body's tired.
Yeah.
You're forced to push in the weight room because you're with those same guys that you're there training with on the mat, those same guys that are pushing you on the mat training jiu-jitsu. They're also pushing you and pushing each other in the weight room, and there's your coach is there in the weight room and he's pushing you too. And we're just together all the time. So we're always pushing each other, everything we do when we drill, when we do specific training, competition training, lifting weights, everything. We're always pushing each other. We're always basically trying to make each other quit, you know what I mean? So I think that's great.
That's an interesting dynamic. So you guys lift weights and work out together and then also go train on the mats together. It's the same group of people.
Together, we eat together. Everybody sleeps in the same house. We're together almost 24/7, man.
How many people are in that group?
There's 7 people in the group right now. But there's always going to be others coming in. GFTeam, we got a big team. Just new thing, Flow Grappling put it out, so everybody might be a little bit familiar with it now. But GFTeam is making this huge switch over. Everybody's moving down to California now, so it's easy for them to come down to Ohio now. We have a big team here, also a big team in California. So our doors are always open to, like we said, for the training camp, obviously to GFTeam members, but to almost anybody out there who's willing to, from any team, who's willing to train hard and bust their tail here, So we could have, we got, 7 or 8 guys now. We could have 20 guys. We could have 10 guys. You never know. There's always room for more.
You've been a guy who has basically been competing since you started jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
What's the transition like going from the colored belt to black belt with the competition?
Oh, it's completely different, Every single division's hard. Every single tournament's hard. No such thing as easy tournaments. No such thing as an easy fight anymore. It's black belt. You get to compete against people who've had their black belts longer than you've really trained. That's almost hard to imagine, So it's just completely different. There's these guys that you watched when you were a kid and these guys that you watched when you were a blue belt or a purple belt, even a brown belt. You admired their game. You tried to drill some of their techniques. You tried to emulate their game, and now they're in your division. You got to compete against them. It's a wild thought. It's definitely crazy, but I really, really do. I really do enjoy it. I do enjoy being at the black belt level. Excuse me. It's given me so much motivation to better myself and better my jiu-jitsu because I know I'm sharing the mat with some of the best athletes in the world, So it's definitely given me a new level of motivation and definitely motivated me. So I really enjoy it. I really like it. And I just need to trust in the process and stick with it.
Is there anything you have to do that's different as a black belt when you're across the mat into purple belt and you look at somebody and you really don't know much about them, or maybe you've rolled them once or twice before, but as a black belt, you're standing across the mat and you've watched this person compete at this black belt level for quite a while. Did you need to do anything mentally before the match to kind of prepare yourself, or have you found anything that helps with that, or do you just go out there and just take it to them?
I think the mental game, obviously, in sports, in competitive sports, in combat sports, is a huge, huge thing. There's always that argument that it's more important than the physical side, and I agree with that. But I think that the mental aspect and the mental game needs to be within oneself. You need to better your mind, and you need to do that as an individual. If you start to worry about, this guy and that guy, and you start to worry about every single guy and worry about your bracket and worry about who's in front of you, you're going to find yourself overwhelmed, Purple belt is definitely a tough belt. That's when, a lot of guys are professionals at purple belt. A lot of guys just train at purple belt. At brown belt too. You're not running into it's basically like a D1 college purple belt and brown belt, right? It's these guys, that's all they do. They just train, eat, and sleep. That's it. So black belt's just the same, except they just have more experience. And they've just been doing it longer. That's it, The purple belts and brown belts that are world class are eventually the ones who are going to turn into the black belts that are world class for the most part. So the mental game needs to be worked from the beginning, from your beginning of your competitive career until the black belt. It needs to continue bettering through your black belt career. And it's very individualized. You need to work on yourself, improving your confidence and everything to prepare for just about anybody, because we see these black belt classes, middleweight black belt, lightweight black belt, middle heavy black belt are ones that come to mind where there's 6 to 10 guys in that division who could be world champion on any given day. So if you start to worry about every single one of them, or if you're going to fight every single guy or have a different game plan for every single one, I think, in my opinion, you're going to find yourself just a little bit overwhelmed, and it's almost too much to handle.
Like you mentioned earlier, the mental side can become more important than the actual physical side.
Yeah, of course. Yep. I believe that to be true in any sport.
People hear that, and they see a guy like you who trains so much, and you're training off the mat, and you're super athletic, and then they hear that, it's like, yeah, right. But in reality, if you're not in the game mentally, you're not in the game at all. And so, if you wake up and roll out of bed, you're gonna just choke me unconscious within 30 seconds. It doesn't take that much. But if you are distracted, or you've got some major problems at home with some fiance is breaking up with you, whatever, that's a huge. That's going to affect everything on your game. So people think about trying to get from 90% to 100% mentally effective, but if you're down low and having a hard time getting your head in the game, it's going to affect everything you do on the mat.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know if you're engaged or anything like that, but that's just an example. You're a young man, so.
1,000%, because, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of guys out there who, a lot of people complain and they say, oh, that guy doesn't train very hard, or he doesn't train a lot. But when they go to the tournament, they win. And to me, what that shows is that doesn't just show that this guy is so gifted. I mean, yeah, he is gifted in everything if he can get away with not training as hard, but his mind is there. He's got a great mind for competition. He knows when to flip that switch. He knows when to turn it on and turn it off. So that's something that a lot of people don't have. A lot of people struggle with in, like I said, all sports, So all this training and everything that we all do is not just to prepare our body. We obviously want to be in great physical condition, competing for 6, 8, 10 minutes at a time for each fight. But we want to have our mental game up high, and that's what you do when you do this competition style training. When you're having these marathon training days, you're in the gym in the morning for an hour to an hour and a half. You're training on the mats for an hour and a half, 2 hours, right into drilling, right into drilling or specific training. So, you're training for sometimes 5 hours, 6 hours a day even. So that's a mental test right there. And that's a mental test that's going to translate to the competition.
Dante, let's just give you like a kind of a scenario. You're in the house training with all these guys. There's somebody who is like doing amazing. When you're on the mat with them, it's like this person is they're there, they've got it. They go out and they compete, and they kind of come up short, and it's pretty consistent. What do you tell that person to kind of help them take their in the gym game and bring that onto the mat with them when they go to compete? What are they lacking?
You're saying somebody who's great in the gym but not great in the tournament?
Yeah, if that's one of your teammates there, what kind of a conversation do you have, or how do you help that person get out of that rut?
Well, first first you got to kind of introduce it to them, you know what I mean? You got to kind of tell them, hey, man, you know, in the gym, you're a killer, blah, blah, blah. You know, we got to translate this to the tournament. You know, you got to help them see it, kind of, you know, help them see what the issue is. And then you have to emulate what is going wrong in the tournament in the gym. You know, you have to make the training like a tournament. You're preparing for a tournament with this type of training. You know, this type of training here is not for the guy with the 9 to 5. You know, that's the classes, that's the technique drilling in the class, and then the training after, and the privates on the side and all that. You know, that's great, that's awesome. But if you want to be a competitor, you have to emulate what's going to happen, every single thing that's going to happen in a competition in the gym. You know, you have to emulate being in, you know, basically you're going to have to train with injury. You're going to have to train with fatigue. You're going to have to train being down on points, up on points, every single thing you can imagine, you know. So the more you train like it's a tournament, the more you emulate a tournament in the gym, the more natural it becomes, the easier it becomes once you step on the mat for the tournament, you know. And then bringing it back to the last thing is that mental game. You know, the mental game is the biggest thing. You can have the best, the most high-level physical preparedness out there, but if your mind is somewhere else, I mean, put a fork in it, you're pretty well done, you know? So, you know, got to work on your mind, definitely. When you get free time, there's a lot of different things you can do to work on your mind, meditation, you know, reflect on your days of training, different things like that, reading, yoga, all types of things you can do to better your mind, clear your mind, have an open mind for the competition side of training and competition itself.
You listed a lot of different things you could do to help yourself clear your mind and get your mind ready. Do you have one of those that you actually prefer to do?
Just kind of be on my own and kind of look inside, you know what I mean? See what's going on, see what I have to work with. I think the hardest thing for a lot of athletes is to really be honest with themselves. Be honest with themselves is like if they need help, if they need some certain thing. I think a lot of people have a lot of ego involved. They have a lot of, how would I say, you know, they're not really comfortable with looking at their weakness, you know, so their ego might not allow them to do that. So sometimes they just kind of deny it or they just push it to the side. As a world-class athlete, you got to be able to look in the mirror at yourself honestly and say that you're doing this good or that good, or hey, I need help here. I'm not doing very well. You know, there's always something you can work on. There's always something you can work on in your mind and with your body and with your jiu-jitsu. So it all stems from your mind. It all stems from you making that decision to change in your mind. So I like to, you know, definitely on a Saturday or Sunday when it's a rest day, it's quiet. You get to sleep in, you get a lot of rest, get some good food in you, you know, maybe have a cheat meal, you know, drink a Coke or something like that if you're not too close to the tournament. And just relax. Just let your mind be free. Have some time by yourself. Have, you know, some meditation and kind of look inside and see what you can work on and see what you can do better.
Yeah, that's all great advice. You've been a black belt for about 6 months, competed quite a bit. Can you look back and maybe pick out one of your favorite black belt matches and why you like that so much?
I haven't had a whole lot of them yet, but I had a couple that stick out. Had a couple black belt matches in Russia that really stuck out to me. had a match with Lucas Hosha at the American Nationals that stuck out to me. That's was one of the turning points in my competitive career. This last Worlds, I had a really, really tough fight in the semifinals of my weight class against Josh Hinger. Went down to a ref's decision, and I ended up losing the ref's decision. But it was a great fight, It was a tough fight. We both pushed for it. We both tried to get the win. So it was a really good fight. Fights like that make you better as a person, make you better as a competitor. And, obviously you want the result to go your way. But, even though the result didn't go my way, I'm thankful for the opportunity to have such a tough fight and grow as an athlete.
Yeah, and when you think about those matches with Josh or Lucas, those are, I think that, even with a person like Josh, a tough match that comes down to a referee's decision, that's very impressive. You look at Josh and you're there. You could have won the match. He could have won the match. Like what he's doing, you could do. And I think that could be a big, we talk about the mental game. If you're feeling like, oh man, this is gonna be tough, you just kind of remind yourself, hey, man, I can hang with this guy. I can hang with the rest of them.
Yeah.
That's cool that you've had those experiences and you were able to look at them and even take a loss of a referee's decision and take that and learn from it.
Yeah, of course. You always learn. You always learn something from your losses. You know what I mean? You always learn something, and even from your wins, you can always learn something depending on how you want to look at it.
Dante, you can't do this sort of a lifestyle alone, and I know you've got a couple of sponsors. I'd like to hear who they are and why you like them.
A lot of support from my good friend here and one of my mentors here in Toledo, Ohio, Kelly Highmore. He helps me out so much. He's given us, a place to train, place to live, supports me through my whole career, supported me since I was a purple belt, So he is definitely a guy I have to thank. Definitely. GFTeam Toledo, the gym that he owns, the gym where we train, the most help to me, Also like to thank my sponsors, Monkey Tape, the Jungle Gym, my good friend from Canada, who's helped me, through, he's helped me with my conditioning and my nutrition. I'd also like to thank Analyze My BJJ and Armbar Soap, 50/50 Defense Armbar Soap. They've helped me a lot,
Yeah, that's great, and I'll put links to those in the show notes. You mentioned that you sometimes will teach a seminar or that sort of thing. Are you, I know you're busy training all the time. If somebody wanted to have you come in and teach a seminar, would that be something that they could do, or are you pretty focused on what you're doing now?
No, I'm always open to teach seminars. There's always going to be times where I'm a little bit busier.
Yeah.
Closer to tournaments and things like that. But there's a lot of days in the year, a lot of weekends in the year. So I'm always looking for seminars. I really enjoy teaching seminars, especially to, just to go different places and to see different jiu-jitsu. I love to train with different guys from a lot of different gyms and share my jiu-jitsu with different people all over, no matter where it may be. So, yeah, I'm always open for seminars. I'm always interested.
Do you have a favorite social media somebody could follow you on or even get a hold of you if they want you to come over and teach?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Those are my two social medias. I don't fool around with Twitter too much. So can follow me, Dante Leon on Facebook, just my personal account, and then Dante Leon BJJ on Instagram. I'm on there. I'm active on both. So if you want to get a hold of me, shoot me a message on there.
Are you ready to play the fast money round like a Family Feud style?
Yeah, let's go.
Name something that many people only do 2 or 3 times in a lifetime.
Fly on an airplane.
Name something that many people put off doing because it's too expensive.
Getting a new car.
Name something that might be canceled because of cold weather.
School.
Name something that might be dangerous to cross.
Highway.
Name something that might motivate a man to lose weight.
Girlfriend.
There you go. That was a good answer, girlfriend. Let's see. Name something that people do just 2 or 3 times. There's not really flying isn't really on there. Something that's too expensive. Buying a car. People put off doing that because it's expensive. 15 points. Something that cancels because of the cold weather. You nailed that one. School was the number one answer. 42 points. Name something that people are afraid to cross. Highway, 14 points. That was a good answer. Railroad track was the number one answer on that one. And then name something that motivated a man to lose weight. Number one answer, 54 points, was dating. So you got that one. Very good job.
Not bad.
Yeah. You got 125 points.
Nice.
That's really good. You did this one with Tim Sled. He got 126. You're one right behind the leader. So
nice.
Very impressive performance.
Awesome. Man.
That's fun. I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate you hopping on here and being doing an interview with me.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
And good luck. And we'll be watching you as you compete throughout the year and into the future. And it's been interesting learning how much work goes into what we see when we see on the mat.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. I really had fun. And I hope all the viewers, listeners out there enjoy what we had to say today.
Man, thank you so much to Dante Leon for stopping by, really getting him introduced to the audience. If you've had the privilege of watching him come up through the ranks, it's been fun. And if you just got introduced to him, go and find him on social media. We'll put some links in the notes there, and you can keep up with his competition career as it continues to develop. And he's there. It's awesome. He's up there competing with the best in the world, and he's doing great. So it's just going to be really cool to watch him continue to grow and get even better as he goes. Made a little bit of a mistake. This whole thing about the Family Feud thing is fun, and people are liking to do it. Tim Slid had a good time doing it, and so did Dante. But I read the scores wrong. I looked at the paper, and I thought Tim had a higher score. Actually, Tim Sled scored 120, and Dante scored 125. So we have a high score. By congrats to Dante Leon for getting the high score so far out of 2, and not counting the gentleman here who have a couple tries at it. But yeah, cool. Good job there, my friend.
Yeah, I'm like Joe. When Joe was talking about his BJJ Heroes record there, I just went in and checked him out, and man, it's a who's who. This guy is incredible. Byron told me before the interview, he's like, hey, don't forget this name. Keep an eye out for this guy. He's going to be all over. He's going to be one of the most recognizable names here in the future. So definitely check him out. He's incredible, and check out his BJJ Heroes page and see all the studs he's went against and all the studs that he's beaten. So just an incredible competitor.
Yep, definitely plan on keeping an eye on this guy. Look forward to seeing what he does in the next year or so.
Yep. Another thing you can keep an eye on is our sponsor, Health IQ. They're keeping an eye on kind of the trend. They look at runners, cyclists, weightlifters, vegetarians, people that deserve lower rates on their life insurance. Added to the list is grapplers. That's a really cool concept, is that we're now recognized as people who are living these super healthy lifestyles and deserve to be kind of rewarded for it with paying lower rates in life insurance. If you grapple, if you adopt this lifestyle, you'll probably live longer than the average person who doesn't. And Health IQ is the place to go to get the rate that you actually deserve. There'll be a link on the show notes. healthiq.com/BjjBrick is the link, and you can check it out. Get a quote there. They have a little quiz that you could take and kind of see where you're at as far as your knowledge of things that are healthy.
And one thing that's really cool about this company is they practice what they preach. They actually have a gym right in the middle of their headquarters, as I was looking through their webpage. And on top of that, they want you to go home early so you don't miss time to work out. If you bring a candy bar or a soda into work, basically it gets taken away from you. They practice what they preach. They are healthy, and they want to give us healthy people better rates on life insurance. So definitely check it out.
They're going to end up being flooded with job applications and resumes after this.
Joe, you want to know the funny thing is? I actually
You already sent yours in?
No, I looked at all the jobs they had available. I was like, is there any for bankers? I was thinking, man, all three of us could go get a job there, and we could work out. We could put some wrestling mats in their room and get some work done.
And that would be cool.
Yeah.
But we'll keep on working on the podcast for the time being. The sponsor, we're really enjoying the relationship we're building with them, and just hoping that this additional income will help us produce an even better show, and the highest quality show we could do at a rate that's even more impressive. We've already added one show per month to the schedule, with Joe doing so.
Thanks.
You go ahead.
Thanks to Joe.
Yep, that's really a large part by our Patreon supporters, which we're still relying on. As they are our founding supporters, and we thank them so much. And if you want to be a supporter, you could go to the link with Patreon. We'll send you out a free gi patch and a BjjBrick sticker as well. Invite you to the private Facebook group, and you can support the show through that. And that being said, we're trying the sponsorship thing out here. We really like the company Health IQ, but if I get a couple of Patreon supporters saying, hey, we'd rather just be commercial free, we'll also listen to that. And any audience member, we want you guys to be happy with us. We're not going to add on many commercials, but the Patreon supporters, they do have a little more say with how things are, because they are actually backing us up and supporting us. So get a couple of emails from the Patreon supporters. It'd be interesting to see how they think this is going. Really, we're just going to be looking at reinvesting the money back into the show, into the podcast, to the website, whatever we need to make this as strong as we can get it. So that's really our plan. And we haven't. I don't think we've talked about it, but ultimately, Joe lives in Texas and we live in Kansas. Ultimately, sometime in the next several months here, we hope to bring Joe up and train with him, and that would be provided with the transportation for that would be something with a sponsor that we would be able to do, and it makes it much easier for us to do that.
And somehow we'll make it worth everybody's time. I don't know, put some crazy videos on YouTube or something.
Gary needs to get some crazy videos. I have a few already.
My videos aren't legal for viewing, Byron.
Oh. We'll figure out something to do to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, we can just, muddy the screen up, and you won't be able to tell if that's me or a kangaroo.
I don't. Your boxing videos are pretty bad.
Hey, kids, if the website asks for your age before they let you on the site, just don't go there.
Don't go there. Even adults don't.
Yep.
But we do have a cool website for our article of the week, jujitsufamily.com. And this is by Jennifer Stewart. The article is titled Finding My Groove Again. And this is an interesting concept. And I think it speaks to a lot of people, because this is a lifestyle, a journey. I urge you to think about it like that instead of just a point that has an end. We say it's a marathon, not a sprint. Even a marathon has an end. You get done with it, and you can stop running. Adopt this as a lifestyle. But sometimes you have like a bit of a downer, in that lifestyle. Like, man, I don't know if this is for me, and just kind of getting out of that groove. And that's really what this article is about. Kind of evaluating what to do, thinking of just doing a couple different ways, and thinking of some positive things that bring it to you. I think it's a great article this week, gentlemen.
Okay, I was going to say I tried something different this week. I read the article before we got on the air.
Wow, good job, Joe.
Yeah. What I like most about it is that she's sort of giving herself permission to sort of accepting the fact that you're not going to eat, drink, and breathe jiu-jitsu every day of your life for the rest of your life. And I would say, actually, for most adults, that's a healthy thing. If I put jiu-jitsu as my very first priority, I would be single right now. So, most people have a wife or a spouse and kids and a house and a job, and you need to make sure that it occupies the right space in your life. And I like that the author of this is kind of giving themselves permission to not always be the most enthusiastic person about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that was awesome. And what I really liked is the name of the website is jujitsufamily.com. And then as she gives little scenarios, about jiu-jitsu, she just talks about family in there, knowing your professor believes in you, the fun roles with your favorite training partner, pride in watching teammates succeed. And man, that's what jiu-jitsu is all about. It's a big family. You get on the mat, you're going to have struggling days. You're going to have days that are going to be rough. But those people, they're all there for you. People that you probably wouldn't meet outside of jiu-jitsu. You know, a big, diverse group of people are in your jiu-jitsu gym. You know, everything from doctors to bankers to firefighters to sea captains. You know, everybody's there. It's a very diverse group, but you may be different, you know, in your upbringing, but it becomes one big family. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate that, because there's really a few places you could find such a diverse group of people than on the mat, and have such a good relationship with those people. You know, everybody, you go to work, everybody kind of is similar at work. You know, you work in the same area as everybody. You know, if you go to school, all those people are students. You know, same stage in their life a lot of times. You go to jiu-jitsu, you get a good mix of everybody, and it's just great to kind of meet those people. You know, become friends with them, and to bring them in, and so, you know, I think we probably have a few listeners who are in a bit of a slump. And maybe it's just fun to listen to the podcast, but not so fun to go train. And so go on the website and read some of her list about, like, some of the things that she really appreciates about jiu-jitsu that you maybe not think about, like being fully present during the roll. You're not distracted. There's no cell phone. There's no Facebook. There's nothing there to distract you. Somebody asking you questions. You're just rolling. You're out there doing your thing. She also mentions being humble enough to learn from everyone, regardless of the belt color. And I think this is a great one. You know, I was grappling with a young guy this morning, great wrestler, but, you know, his experience with, you know, actual jiu-jitsu, you know, I guess he probably has a year or so, but, you know, he definitely showed me a couple things wrestling side that I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And just be able to learn that from somebody, and, you know, not saying, oh, I could beat that with this. No, maybe I can learn from it. And I think that, you know, those are a couple things. She's got a big list of a lot of different cool things here.
Yep, a very good article, guys. Go check it out. Check out the webpage for other interesting content as well while you're there.
Mentioned that, you know, Joe's down there in Texas and we're up here in Kansas. If you're anywhere near us, Joe's kind of near Houston area, south of Houston, you said?
That's correct. I'm about 50 minutes south of Houston. So if you're in the area, you can contact me through the Facebook page and let me know, and I'd love to get together and train with you.
Yep, and Gary and I almost said Jerry, and Gary and I are in the Wichita, Kansas area. If you're coming through for any reason, give us a holler, and same thing, we'll like to train with you, get to know you, and it's always great to meet another listener, or to re-meet. If you've come by before, we're happy to have you back. It's always good times. And if you're some super freak athlete, Gary will be happy to roll with you.
I'll take one for the team. I tap quick.
There you go. Always a nice guy, Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, how's your knee, by the way?
You know, it's feeling better. It's feeling definitely better. I got out on the mat today. The bad thing is I got a bad left knee and a bad right Achilles. So I'm pretty hobbling everywhere. So, but I'm feeling better. So I can't go wrong with that.
Still training.
Still training. Yep.
There you go.
There you go. That's great. And that kind of brings us to, you know, an area where Gary is an expert, and Gary and Joe have teamed up yet again to produce an amazing audiobook that they have no idea what the title even is, but they're going to make up some great content and really sell us this idea of their audiobook, Hobble Along Jiu-Jitsu. And basically, you know, Gary's hobbling along all the time, but he gets on the mat and boom, he's rolling good. And I'm sure we've all been there to where, you know, you don't feel that good, you know, walking around, going to work, you know, doing day-to-day life. Once you get on the mat, something happens and you can roll just fine. And then you hobble off the mat again. And I don't know if this is a strategy to help you do better on the mat, kind of show the weak side, or if this is just really the way it is. And you get that adrenaline dump and you actually get to live for the few minutes you're rolling, and you go back to your kind of, you know, deprived life of not being able to actually move very well. But this is an interesting concept. I think that at some point in time we'll all be there where we're hobbling and then we're rolling great.
Well, Byron, I hate to break it to you, and you're finally going to hear the real story. Joe and I, we're older grapplers.
What?
You know, I'm a little older than Joe, as Joe likes to always kindly point out to me. But me and Joe, we are competitive. we want to win. And I mean, we don't have the stamina to keep up with these young guys. We don't have the strength. We think we're smarter because we're a little bit older. We have a little bit less hair, but we do have more hair in our ears. But so we have to take every advantage. I'm not hurt. We make this stuff up. We get out on the mat. We're perfect till we step into the gym or till somebody's going to see us. Then we fake a walk. Me and Joe, we actually take acting classes to learn how to walk like we're hurt. When you grab one of our body parts, we scream like we're hurt. And then while the person lets go a little bit, we attack. And it's a good way to win. Wouldn't you agree, Joe?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, Gary. We should tell our listeners where we got the idea for the hop along jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah,
we model our game after the lovable cowboy Hopalong Cassidy. And if you don't know him, Wikipedia describes him as rude, dangerous, and rough talking. He had a wooden leg, which caused him to walk with a little hop, hence the nickname Hopalong Cassidy.
Here he comes, there's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes, Hopalong Cassidy, here he comes.
So that's pretty much us, right? Rude, dangerous,
rude.
rough.
Yeah, rude. I don't know about dangerous, but we're definitely rude and gruff.
I don't know where to go from here because I could just make fun of you guys for being old. Hopalong Cassidy, I just Google
Byron,
it.
you're too young to even know who Hopalong Cassidy is. But we do a lot of different things in this audiobook. The first couple of chapters, we start off dealing with bad legs. So we're gonna walk. We're gonna teach you how to walk with a limp. We're gonna teach you all sorts of stuff. I mean, Joe has really helped me. I used to just be good and say I hurt my knee, and I learned how to walk with a hurt knee. But Joe has really helped me out with a strained calf and with a torn Achilles, and doing really good on that. And then Joe next week is going to teach a class on how to pretend like you have plantar fasciitis and fake that too. So Joe has really got the lower leg down. I'm more around the knees. So I do the first couple of chapters on knees, and then Joe, takes over the lower leg after that. And some people say that the reason Joe does the lower leg part is because he has a foot fetish.
Oh, Gary, that's a whole nother audiobook. We'll deal with that one later. Oh, man. No, the chapter on gout, though, that's the key right there. So check it out, guys. Only $11.99 a chapter. You get one chapter installed every week. You get a chapter a week for 52 weeks.
Yep. And Joe actually has an appendix in it, not appendix the body part, but a little appendix at the end of the audiobook, and he tells you how to actually make gout look like you really have gout. Like, they will actually have guys come in with cherry juice and cherries, which is a good way to treat your gout. So, to fake gout, you also want to bring cherries with you. So, really thank Joe for that one, because that'll take your acting over the top.
That's Joe's appendix. Gary has a section in the appendix as well of how to fake getting your appendix removed the week before, and just to act like you just got out of surgery, and to roll like that for a little while until you could throw it on and really choke him down pretty good, Gary.
Yep. And even on top of that, Joe and I were talking with Byron here, before the show, but Joe and I secretly recorded him. We are going to have another appendix with Byron where he talks about getting a sex change operation and rolling after that, within a week. So that's another one that's just special. So Byron will be talking about that.
The key is within the week. I mean, that's a pretty fast turnaround to have things turned around like that.
Oh, yeah.
Ordinarily, people are concerned about the power and size and strength of transgender athletes, but the women on the mats have taken a look at Byron where he was before and after, and they're not worried about it.
Oh, man, still the weakest one on the mat. So, it's not an issue.
Yeah. But, yeah, definitely check it out. It's going to be out in time for Christmas, so it's going to make great gifts, and definitely everybody who gets one will really enjoy it.
Yep. Hey, swing by our social media outlets. Our biggest one is Facebook. it seems like we're putting something up every day almost, or basically, I don't know. And that's usually Joe. Joe finds cool stuff and he'll share it with everybody on our Facebook page, Facebook/BjjBrick, or if you just search for it, it's not hard to find. And we appreciate all the interaction we have with the people on there. It really means a lot to us, and trust us. We see the familiar faces pop up. Oh, this person, when we get some likes, I always look at them and see who's liking it. And I see a lot of times the same people, and I really appreciate that, guys. That you're out there, that you're paying attention, and hopefully learning something and getting something of value there. Also, our YouTube channel is getting bigger and bigger. We just recently got over 1,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel. We have a lot more listeners to the podcast, but YouTube is growing, and we're always excited to develop that. And we throw up some videos from time to time as well.
Yep. If you see something you like on Facebook, leave a comment. Between the three of us watching it, you're sure to get some dialogue going. So, yeah, we'd look forward to some interaction, guys.
Definitely check out the BjjBrick app. It's the easiest way to listen to the show each and every week. Plus, you get some private content not available on the show. So definitely check it out and download it.
Yep. Super fun and easy in any app store you want to shop at. It's free. Check us out next week. We have another great show lined up. Stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Train hard, train smart, and get better. We'll see you on the mats, guys.
Keep on hopping.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.